All right, everybody, welcome to the Voice of the Microsoft Partner. My name is Sherman Crancer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Crancer Group. I want to say thank you so much for coming today. I think we got a great program, here for you. It's stacked, actually. It's totally stacked. But before we get started, I want to say thank you to not just the guests and the guest speakers, but my team in the background. I don't give them a lot of credit. We don't talk a lot about them, but it takes about 8 people to put this together. And we have people in the background. We have people. So I want to give them a little bit of a clap to say thank you so much for putting all this effort into getting this together. So today we're going to be talking about Copilot and data and AI really today, and really about how to create offers, right? I was thinking this past week about kind of the opening of this, and kind of thinking about what is the purpose of this call. Really, what are we doing, right? What are we doing? And really, the purpose of this call, it's a place to figure out or to ask questions that will help solve our problems as Microsoft partners as we're navigating this, right? You come to this place because it's a safe place. It's a place where we don't really commercialize this. The only time you hear about the Crancer Group and what we do is in the very beginning, right? What do we do, right? But what I want to really kind of bring out to you is this is a safe place for us to learn. Right, to learn from others, to learn, and I think this is a great opportunity for us. So we've got 3 different guest speakers from Microsoft today, really fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into the agenda real quick, because I want to get right into this. We got a jam-packed thing going on here. So this is the welcome message. We're going to go into the fastest Microsoft minute, the update with Kevin Hahn today, which is great. Then we're bringing in Tyler, our level 400 facilitator. Right now, who's been delivering Azure Immersion workshops for Microsoft for the past 3 years. He is one of the brightest individuals I've ever met when it comes to this. So he's going to talk a little bit about Copilot and some of the things to do with it. And then we have a deep dive with Diana Rocha from Microsoft on resources that you can use as partners, okay, to actually get your practice started. It's perfect lead in for this. We got about 10 minutes of that. And then we're getting into driving profit with Microsoft Copilot, launching winning offers. And then we have John Turk, a data and AI partner. We got Jason Hinton, and then Adam Bertram from Sentinel. So we actually have a partner perspective on this. And I want to call out Sentinel for a second. I've been working in the channel for about, 10 years now. It seems like, right? About 10 years. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of different partners. And I have never worked with a better, more organized, more thought-provoking partner in my career than Sentinel. They are a massive organization that has really made a pivot from being a traditional VAR to really being a cloud-first Microsoft-related partner, and just their organizational skills and how they're doing it. They are light years ahead of partners with all of their offers. I think they have 7 offers right now. So we want to use this as a great way to ask them questions, or a great way to get some really good information from them, okay? Now, a couple of rules of engagement here. Please, first and foremost, we want to use this as a networking opportunity. So please go ahead and put in your name, who you work for, what you're doing today, so that people can possibly contact you. We also have a good friend of mine, Diane, who will be posting. She's a senior marketing expert for us, and she might be looking for a new role. So if you're interested in talking to her, She'll be posting her information there. I give her my full endorsement. What a fantastic individual there. So please go ahead and put in your information. It's not to be used, but for networking purposes. So your name, who you are, what you do, contact me for whatever. So this is what the other part of this, as well as ask questions. So we're going to be going through this. Ask questions. Let's go ahead and get things started. In there, and then if they're appropriate, I'll go ahead and ask our attendee or our guest speakers today. So with that being said, last thing, I'm sorry, I forgot. We got some polls here today. Now these polls, please, if you would do us a favor, go ahead and vote on them, because what we're trying to do, and this is a really cool thing, is we're really getting more ingrained with Microsoft right now with leadership. We're trying to bring them ideas, okay, or ways to help them help connect better with the partner base and see like what they want and what they need, right? So we have some polls. Go ahead and put it there. We actually don't publish who says the poll, so they're anonymous, okay? So don't worry about that, but it's kind of cool to see like the percentages, because that helps us with our talk track. So please go ahead and do that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the fastest Microsoft Minute with Kevin Hahn. Kevin, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Sherman, Adam. Thank you. Jason, Diana, welcome to the Crancer Group's Tech-tastic Microsoft Minute Update. I'm Kevin Hahn, your source for the best Microsoft news this side of the digital divide. Get ready, you keyboard warriors. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Microsoft Copilot, your new favorite digital sidekick. Before we start, I think it's time we group you guys together and give you a name. So, hello there, VOMPsters. Get ready for the Sherman Show, because the conversations today will keep you on the edge of your stool in your home office, probably wearing gym shorts and a dress shirt. Imagine Copilot cozying up in your M365 suite, ready to take on task. It's like having a miniature Einstein in your machine, minus the messy hair and the need for a chalkboard. So some examples that I've experienced lately. Jeff at New Dynamic, he's told me that he's dealing with data that's more confusing than a chameleon in a bag of Skittles. I've told him to convey what he wants to Copilot naturally. And now he's navigating through pivot tables as smooth as butter on a hot pancake. Emails, forget about it. Dictate your most tangled thoughts to Copilot and get email gold with the elegance of Shakespeare. Speaking of Shakespeare, Dan at Cunivate, I happen to know he's a huge fan. So if I want to speak his language, let's see. Hey, Dan, these scrolls of lore, once mastered with care, shall elevate thy status pure and fair. And in Cunivate's halls, your light shall flare with knowledge deep and solution partner designations rare. What about PowerPoint presentation panic? Not anymore. My other client, John at Skills TX, he shares concepts on the Sophia model to Copilot. And now he's just telling me it's creating these presentations that are so incredible that his audience just last week started a slow clap. We've all seen these infamous sites showcasing hilarious failed text messages from last night. So let's take that as a playful reminder. Can you imagine intending to say to a client, I'm keen to discuss your portfolio expansion, and then they receive, I'm on a bus with your porcupine collection? Or what if you wanted to share thoughts on client feedback? Please avoid mentioning you think they're a giant sleaze bag. The potential embarrassment is boundless. So, hey, look, my thoughts on AI, if we embrace this, it cannot erase us. So, look, now, as Lee Corso would say on College Game Day, not so fast, my friend. There's more. Copilot isn't just a tool. It's a companion on your digital journey, evolving with your every interaction. So that's it for this tech-tastic Microsoft Minute Update, bringing you the latest and greatest on everything Microsoft, brought to you by our sponsors today, Skills TX, New Dynamic, Cunivate, that's Innovate with a Q, Sentinel, Stratus Cloud, and of course, the Crancer Group's Voice of the Microsoft Partner Monthly Series. Hey, listen, stay wise out there, you honster vompsters. The world of tech can be about as unpredictable as whoever that was that lit off the stink bomb at our 8th grade dance. Stay tech savvy, everyone, with the Crancer Group and Microsoft. The future is as bright as the pixels on your screen.
Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate that Microsoft Minute. That's awesome. Great. All right, let's transition over to Tyler, who's got the fit of the century. We love Tyler here. He is our technician, our genius over there. So Tyler's going to talk a little bit about some technical aspects of what's going on today. Tyler, go ahead and take it away, bud.
Yeah. Thanks, Sherman. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. This is Tyler's Tech Minute with me, Tyler. And, last night we got great news, about Copilot becoming generally available to all seat sizes. And this month, I really wanted to continue that discussion of AI by talking about another great Microsoft product, which is Copilot Studio. And what Copilot Studio is a robust platform designed to empower users to really extend and customize that Copilot experience. So with a suite of comprehensive tools and resources, Copilot Studio enables users to create new Copilots or enhance existing ones to suit their specific needs. So Copilot Studio is included in Copilot for M365, and you can use a graphical development environment to design, test, and deploy your Copilots, or use code or graphical editors to create your own custom components as well as plugins to your Copilot. So you can use all the Microsoft conversational AI tools such as, and utilizing M365, Power Platform, Azure, as well as third-party APIs to connect your Copilots to various data sources and services. You can also monitor and improve the performance and quality of your Copilots by using the built-in analytic dashboard and reports. So really, to highlight, businesses can leverage Copilot Studio to customize and develop Copilots that seamlessly integrate with their unique workflow and processes. And by automating those repetitive tasks, providing intelligent suggestions, and offering real-time assistance, Copilots significantly enhance our productivity. And this allows our employees to focus on higher value work while routine operations are effectively handled by Copilots. And Copilots built using Copilot Studio can be tailored to address specific business requirements as well, ensuring the alignment with your organization's goals. Available as both a standalone web application and also an integrated app within Teams, Copilot Studio offers consistent functionality across different platforms. And internally, Copilots guide our employees through complex processes, answer common queries, and provide context-aware recommendations. Though externally as well, businesses can offer Copilots to their customers, enhancing their experience with personalized assistance and prompt issue resolution. So finally here, Copilots, reduce the need for manual intervention, leading to cost savings in terms of labor hours. And as your business grows, your Copilots can easily scale to handle those increased workloads without proportional increase in staffing. So this scalability is especially valued during peak seasons or when dealing with sudden spikes in demand. And overall, Microsoft Copilot Studio provides a versatile and powerful platform for your business to optimize their Copilot experience and drive efficiency across all of your various workloads. So that's all I got for everybody here today. Thanks again, Sherman. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Fantastic. All right. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Tyler. Really appreciate it. All right. Just a couple of things, we want to call out Mark Brown, Deborah Droz, who are in the chat window today. Wow, they're a great Alliance folks, and just want to call them out. If you have some questions about Microsoft Alliance, you can talk to them. We do the same thing, but they have their own thing. So I just want to call them out as really good people and worth talking to. So if you have that opportunity, please reach out to them. They have my full endorsement as well. All right, so let's get into our next section. With Diana Rocha from Microsoft. This is so cool. This kind of came together a little last minute, okay? But we thought, okay, we're talking about Copilot. What are some of the resources, right, that actually partners can use? Diana, would you mind just introducing yourself and your role? And then I'm going to give it to you. We've got about 10 slides here. We think this is really good stuff. So Diana, take it away.
Thank you, Sherman, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. I am super excited to be with you all here today. Start by introducing myself. My name is Diana Rocha, and I work on the Global Partner Marketing team, leading our modern work through partner marketing efforts. And I'm going to be deep diving here into a new Copilot campaign we have. But before I do, I just wanted to give you an overview of our digital engines and what we really mean by partner marketing campaigns in the box. And the idea behind our campaigns in the box is really that they provide you with a comprehensive, ready to launch marketing campaign package that has been tailored to expedite your go-to-market efforts, meaning that these packages offer you as a partner the convenience of accessing these pre-prepared campaigns, but also while retaining the flexibility to mold them to your specific needs. And they're one of the benefits of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, and they are available to all of our partners at no cost. We've got two options available for our partners. So digital marketing content on demand that we typically refer to just as DMC, and then partner marketing center or PMC. And I'll explain a little bit more in detail on the next slide what these engines are. But I wanted to highlight here something new we've introduced in Microsoft this year, which is to have our campaigns localized into 11 languages. So that's a lot. I'll drop those languages into the chat later, but you'll find that all of the campaigns are available in Chinese and Japanese and Brazilian and Spanish and Turkish and German and French, and I'm sure I've forgotten a few. But yeah, that was something we introduced this year. So DMC and PMC, the digital marketing content on demand is our automated platform. So if you go into that engine, and you can access it at aka.ms/DMC, you'll find go-to-market, ready-to-use content and resources. Our campaigns typically have a 6-week duration, and you'll find infographics, pitch decks for you as a partner to use in your one-to-one conversations, ebooks, and all those good assets really designed to help you increase your demand gen. And PMC, think of it more as a repository. You can go in and download all the campaign assets, and they are highly customizable and co-branded for our partners to really sequence your campaign on your own. So core difference between two, what we have in PMC is highly customizable. What we have in DMC, you can co-brand it with your logo, but it is a bit limited in terms of co-branding and customization. So if you don't have a lot of time or resources to invest in the campaign, you might want to leverage the DMC version or option. If you want to really differentiate your assets and add your solution value prop, which we hope you do as well, then you might want to check out the PMC assets. So I'm very happy to announce that we've got a brand new Copilot for M365 Partner Marketing campaign in the box. It went live last month. And the bill of materials we include are really thought through. So we've got a full funnel campaign. So you'll see assets starting with to drive promotion, like your promo emails, banners, social ads. And then we've got infographics and one-pages to drive acquisition, followed by a nurture email series for consideration. And then we end typically with resources for partners like pitch decks. We've got links to the Copilot M365 workshop content, really to help you drive that one-to-one conversation. And again, of course, you're free to sequence the campaign as you please and leverage the assets the way that they make more sense for your marketing needs. So you can follow this journey that we suggest, but also sequence them as you please and customize them further with your additional added value services to go to market. Localizations in 11 languages for this campaign should go live mid-March. We just received them today. So that's brand new news here for the cohort of the partners on the call, and we're getting them live. And we're also working on a DMC campaign for Copilot. It's being cooked now. That will be more focused on driving adoption and usage of Copilot. So you'll find that in the DMC version, what we're working on now will have specific assets towards personas. Also, how should an executive use Copilot, when and in which apps. And you'll find like a day in the life of a marketeer one-pager. So we're working on that now, and it should be available to all our partners too. This slide just shows you sort of the library of all the assets that you will find in our campaigns in the box. Want to highlight two things here. One, the link to the campaign is here at the bottom right corner. I'll pop it in the chat as well so that you can have that once I'm finished. And I recommend that you start downloading the campaign execution guides. All of our campaigns have an execution guide, and that's where you will find slides around the messaging, the target audiences, the journey slide that I just shared, for example. So we recommend that you start there. This just, again, it's another slide to give you an example of what you will find in our execution guide. We have copy blocks and useful messaging that you can customize further in the campaign. So was very excited to share that with this group. And then you might be thinking, okay, we've got a campaign in the box, but how does this fit into the customer engagement model? And when should you be thinking about using a campaign in the box in the overarching journey? And it really is in the first listen and consult stage. And again, another recommendation I want to give here is do use your co-op funds to work with an agency to customize further the assets and actually run the campaign for you. You can contact here the Crancer group to support you with this, as I know they specialize in helping our partners understand how to use and redeem the funds for these kind of demand gen activities. And then after running the demand gen campaign as a partner, you should be then thinking about delivering the Copilot workshop we put together with the leads that you've generated from that campaign. And we've also got new adoption accelerator programs for partners to really help drive usage of the Copilot technology. But I won't go very much in detail into those programs today because we don't have a lot of time. This, what I have here is really a takeaway slide, but it shows you all of the FY24 campaigns in the box that are available, aligned to each mainstream solution play. You can see that we have a wide range of 21 campaigns in the box to choose from. So hopefully you will find it helpful to go back to this slide and consult it. All we have to offer in a sort of a single view, including the links to DMC, PMC, and the localized languages as well. We also have industry campaigns in the box. Might be interesting for some of the partners on the call that have solution or services or offers aligned to verticals. I'm not going to drain this slide, but again, it's a single side view of the industry campaigns that you can revert back to. We have several sort of retail, healthcare, sustainability campaigns this year, as they were the focus or prioritized industries for Microsoft this year. And last but not least, I acknowledge I sort of whizzed through all the information in 10 minutes. And maybe some partners on the call might not be familiar with our engines or platforms or how to get started. So we've put together a 5-volume guide with instructions on how to use DMC, PMC, the links here at the top of the slide too, in case you want to understand how to set up your account, upload contact lists, or look into the lead dashboard if you're not familiar with the engines. So thank you, Sherman. I know it was very quick, but we only had 10 minutes. I do want to ask the partners, please share your feedback with us as well. I'll pop here my contact for LinkedIn if you want to connect. We are eager to, we love hearing feedback from our partners. If you see any gaps or where we can also improve to help you expedite your go-to-market needs.
Thank you, Diana. Really appreciate it. That was really impactful. Now, I think my takeaway from this is there's just so much great content. Like, it's already been created. There's a lot of stuff you can do. So you can download it, and then you can make it your own, right? And my guidance really for, when you're making your own messaging, think about the customer journey and think about what are the questions that these folks are thinking about before they want to talk to a vendor. Okay, just think about that. How do you break down barriers? That's what in my mind with marketing, it's breaking down those barriers so that they feel comfortable talking to you. So there's a lot of great starts here. Oh my gosh, from soup to nuts. Thank you very much, Diana. And then we may be putting together another deep dive for a select group of partners. We have a poll that we're going to come up here if you're interested. We might be doing like a 1 hour just on that one here. Actually, here you go. We can go ahead and do this, but we're also going to do it on AI, but tend a deeper dive discussion in 2 weeks. So tell us yes, no, thank you, no problem. Go ahead and vote on that. That is just maybe get 10, 20 people just in the room. But Diana, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Sincerely, great stuff, great content, and contact her on LinkedIn. We're not going to give out her home phone number or address. So, but all right, thanks again.
Thank you for having me, Sherman.
Absolutely. Okay, driving profit with Microsoft Copilot. Yes, that is really what we're here for. So let's go ahead and introduce our speakers today, if they can come on camera. We have John Turk. We have coming in here. John, thank you. We have Adam Bertram, and we have Jason Hinton from Microsoft on here, which is really awesome. We're having a few technical difficulties on our end on the video for Jason. Sorry, Jason. We'll take it on the chin on that one. Things don't always go so easy. So real quickly, John, do you mind just introducing yourself? Then I'll go to Adam, and then I'll go to Jason.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Sherman. Looking forward to this conversation. John Turk, I'm at Microsoft. I'm on our data and AI partner strategy. So really excited to talk about how Copilot comes into the mix, how partners can think about where Copilot comes in, how more traditional data and AI solutions come in, and really just some of the best practices we've seen from our early adopters, both the customers we've worked with, but also some of the partners selling the solutions. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, thank you. Adam.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. Adam Bertram. I'm a director here at Sentinel Technologies in our Enterprise Architecture and Innovation Group. I've been with Sentinel for 16 years, about 25 in the industry, got a long stint in modern work and public cloud infrastructure, so cover everything Azure and M365 related. So looking forward to talking more about Copilot and AI in general.
Fantastic. And Jason.
Hi, Jason Hinton. So I'm a colleague of John's, and I'm focused more on the infrastructure side of things. I'm a former partner seller and former partner development manager, and I highlight those just because I've been where you are, and I really try to keep, as we look at our programs and initiatives and different things that we're trying to drive, where is our partner and what's in it for them, right? So I really try to be that advocate on your behalf, but I'm really excited to talk about AI, which is everybody's favorite topic right now. So happy to be here and participate. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. All right, so we got another poll here. Before we start, where do you see the biggest opportunity in Microsoft or AI, really? So we'll go ahead and launch this. Kind of curious, like what do people think? Is it in data analytics? Do you think it's in Copilot? Do you think it's in AI training and education? Or, hey, honestly, I don't know where to start. Go ahead and vote on that. I'm going to go ahead and submit. I think I know where to start. But I'll go ahead and put that one there. I think a lot of us are a little confused. So thank you so much for voting on that. You can continue voting on it. So let's open the conversation. I'm going to start off with John, really. Let's open the conversation with building offers and how to help partners make the transition from traditional MSP ISV to now AI and product delivery. Do you want to just kind of start off with the conversation there?
Yeah, happy to jump in and kind of how we think through what the normal business model is, and I'll just say normal. That includes, hardware, managing devices, and going even into some of the Azure infrastructure towards what we've seen really land when partners are building out the data and analytics practice, which of course leads to AI. So the first shift is kind of really working with the customer and understanding which group and what the business outcomes you're trying to drive. So when we look at AI adoption, it's not going to be a step change where you just move from a customer has a problem to a direct solution that's the same for all customers. Every customer has unique challenges. When we look at what we see in the market, we understand that driving revenue, employee productivity, and just really looking at profitability and optimization are key in almost every segment, every industry, for every customer. And to really get in with that, you have to understand what a customer is doing, what they're looking at right now, what their core metrics are, and that's where the conversation starts. So AI, we all know garbage in, garbage out, right? If you're trying to apply a model on top of it or use AI to solve a problem, you really have to understand what data the customers has, how they're currently thinking about their problems, and then make sure you can come through it. So Copilot is such a great tool because it can really attach directly to customers' data around productivity solutions, and specifically within an application that's tied to, if we're thinking about Microsoft 365, it already has the graph data. So you can really help customers be more productive right from the start. That's not saying there's not a big learning curve and an opportunity for partners to help go there. But when you're starting with a customer, the real first question is, what challenge are you trying to solve? And this is not going to be a lot of the times to the IT department, because IT departments are usually trying to minimize costs. And what we're trying to do is help customers grow revenue and be more productive. So really speaking their language and understanding that is kind of the first steps. I could talk forever, but I'm going to stop there so we can kind of go through, because it's just such a fun problem to solve, but it also opens up a lot of different challenges and conversations with your customers.
Yeah, it does, right? Yeah, wow, it's just a lot right now, right? And hopefully we're using this to kind of help narrow down where we want to go with this stuff. Jason, do you want to add a little color to that? And before then, I'll go to Adam actually to see what his thoughts from a partner perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think John talked about like how we need to prepare the infrastructure for what's going forward. And I think that's something that John and I've talked a lot about, is there's an intention, and I want to go to AI. I don't want to be left out. I want to keep up with the competition. But there may be some significant structural things that they need to do with their infrastructure that are going to have to happen beforehand. Also, John mentioned data. So you can't just have non-clean data and that sort of thing. But an interesting thing that came up around security. Now, security is another hot topic, and people are, have both excitement and fear around AI. But I thought this was really interesting. I was talking to our security director, and one of the things she was saying with Copilot is when you start looking at data, Copilot is pulling data out of your system that it wasn't necessarily the case before, right? Like it's still internal in your space, but they would have data siloed in certain areas about certain things and have certain governance and compliance. And now Copilot's going and getting that data for you, right? Which is great. But now I got to think a little bit more about data security and some of the other sort of elements of this. So it's really, as we do it, it opens up so many opportunities to be, sort of productive, like we got in that first minute of like how Copilot can do all these amazing things for you. But then as we get to where it's starting to go pull data from different sources and different places to help you do your job better, we really have to make sure that our governance, compliance, security, infrastructure is all aligned so that, it's doing so in the right manner. So I just think, as this, there's an excitement around it, but there are some other considerations we need to take care of as well. So I'll stop there.
Excellent. Now, Adam, from the partner perspective, how are you guys approaching this? Because it's a whole new potential offering, right? And big transition. How are you guys? Just give us your thoughts on this.
Sure. I mean, following Jason and John, they mentioned a lot of great things, so I echo a lot of what they said. I would say for us, what we've tried to do is, instead of focusing, AI is an obtuse term to a lot of customers, right? There's a lot of marketing hype around it. You can use the hype cycle to steal a page out of Gartner's book, but we're in that kind of wave where every vendor that they interface with is talking about AI. So I've taken an approach with a lot of our counterparts in my group and whatnot to try and tailor in our offerings around it so we can be a little bit more specific, which helps the customer focus in a bit more. So specific workshops around Copilot for M365, specific workshops around the Azure AI services, where we even build a portfolio out for the individual services. So OpenAI service, computer vision, speech, and so forth. And it helps us make it a little bit more tangible for them. And then, echo what John was mentioning, we do a lot of art of the possible. I think those are the most fun sessions, because we just basically get in a room with a lot of stakeholders and say, you know what, there's no rules here. Think about all of the problems, as they mentioned, right? We got to start with a problem in order to identify a use case. And then we move on to the next, what we call building blocks of AI solutions, which is getting into the data and information aspect, which comes into play security, as Jason mentioned. And then we move on into processing as well, too. As we go on through, what does the processing look like? That could be the cloud platform, the architecture, and then lastly is the end user experience. It's one that often gets overlooked, especially when you go down the realm of non-packaged solutions like Copilot. What do you want that user experience to be? Is it in a website? Is it a mobile app? Is it a chat application or a chat bot? So that's kind of how we start to frame things up, is what are the building blocks, and then how do we make that a little bit more specific? And then we can always expand out.
Okay, awesome. That's a great explanation from a partner's perspective. I have another poll here. This is a curiosity that I had here. based on the customers, and this is for the group here, based on the customers you're talking to, where are they today, right? I'm curious. Are they interested in AI, right? Are they eager to take some steps, or do they already have a plan? So go ahead and if you could go ahead and put that. I'm just curious, right? Like, where is that gonna end up? So it looks like, I mean, just from the outset right now, we got a majority of them that are interested but don't know what to do with it. I think from a marketing perspective, I'm always thinking like this because I'm marketing and sales. Like, I'm always thinking about this. You know what we're just learning, even in this very first intro, is that there's so many questions that our customers have, right? So if you're to create a marketing plan around maybe one of these products, make sure that you're thinking in the term of questions, answering questions, giving content to help them solve something or at least understand something before they talk to you, right? Think about that. I mean, there's an explosion of questions here because there's an explosion of possibilities. So just think of that. And that's part of that hype model, right? And then how do you differentiate yourself, right, from everybody else? And I've got this one differentiator that happened to me the other day that I got AI'd. I'll call it that. I got AI'd into a conversation, literally, and I'll bring that in here. But let's talk about something else here. The educational aspect of it. Like, I think some folks are thinking about education as a profitability model. John, what do you think? Like, are they charging for the education piece, or I don't know? Just the thought on that. Not the education sector,
Yeah.
but.
Right. Yeah. So AI adoption, we know that there's going to be a learning curve. When we implemented it within Microsoft, we saw a learning curve. And some of the analyst firms have come out and said that the biggest barrier, 52% of companies said that it was actually AI readiness and the skills to go do it. And this isn't, deep AI machine learning engineer skills. This is just, how do I get the average productivity worker or business worker to go out and use it effectively? Because if you just drop Copilot down, it doesn't matter which suite, but let's say M365, if you don't have the right expectations for landing it, you might have a bad experience, which is going to make sure that you don't use it. And what we really want to do is help our customers use this experience to be more productive and solve those challenges. So a couple of things is, it's so early, we haven't seen one size fit all, how you embed education into the delivery of the service. But if we think about other services, if you're an Azure partner right now, if you do a well-architected framework with Azure infrastructure, a lot of that is governance and management, right? You have to make sure that the resources come in, you design it correctly, and as new VMs come out, you can use those to really optimize the solution. And as customers' usage patterns change, you have to go through that. The same is definitely true with some of the more traditional AI. So if you have ML, if you want to make sure that that's useful moving forward, so if you have supply chain optimization, well, if you have a supply chain optimization solution, customer needs change. So as the market changes or you add new products, you have to go in and do a robust ML ops on top of that. And we sort of see that adoption come in. So Copilot specifically, we don't think this is just going to be a sale where you say, all right, you have it, and then you leave, right? The partners that we have seen as early adopters are starting in small groups, landing the business value, kind of talking through it. A lot of the times for early adopters, the customers want the solution, but then partners are helping them really think through the use cases. And it's very similar to what we've seen in analytics before, where, if you have an analytics pipeline and you're helping customers do more with data, as soon as you get that spark, the number of solutions go down and cascade. So a lot of customers come in, and when we talk to partners, it's not about picking a use case. Customers say, here's 1,000 things I want to do. It's really helping the customers say, okay, here's the ones we're going to prioritize. Even with something like Copilot, which is SaaS, really prioritize the use case, the users, and the outcomes you want to drive, and then go through that adoption and make sure that they're using it as it goes through. Because the AI technology changes so quickly too, it's important to make sure that they're up to speed with all these changes. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all solution. That's what's always fun about data and AI, is it's working with the customers. But I think what we're seeing a lot is partners embed it into the landing and delivery of the solution, and really making sure that you're checking in with customers moving forward.
Awesome. That's great. Now, Adam, would you touch on that? I think you guys were very quick to that answer, or not answer, but in educating partners. Do you want to kind of talk about it, like how you approached it?
Sure. So, we're not a formal Microsoft training partner in that sense of kind of the resale of just bulk training or whatnot, but we took kind of a tiered approach when it came to that education spot. So tip of that would be more of the complimentary workshop, where we're kind of providing education on, for example, I'll use Copilot for M365, provide some education via workshops. It's a sales technique and whatnot. And then the next layer down can spread out into our consulting group, where we can go a few layers deeper and really explore that a bit more. Maybe we get into that art of the possible, the use case development. We kind of identify those personas that are going to make use of it. And then probably more what I'd say leaning towards more Azure AI solutions would be a layer even deeper, where we get into the operational side of things, especially if they're building any customized models in ML or whatnot. The app development and the life cycle aspect of that comes into place. So educating kind of what the DevOps life cycle for maintaining an AI solution, if you decide to go more bespoke with that, looks like is important. So that's kind of our tiered approach with education around AI, is kind of more the off-the-shelf SaaS model, as John mentioned. Then you get into more of a blend between the two with some consulting maybe, and then from there on we can go even deeper into the operational side with our deep in the weeds engineers that can go and provide that admin knowledge transfer and whatnot.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now shifting, Jason, it's a portion of this question. I'm going to shift it a little bit because you're on the infrastructure side, right? Mm-hmm. And think and as far as education wise, I think that we had a small portion of our partners dipping their toes into data and analytics and Power BI for a long time, but it wasn't adopted, wildly in our partner base. But now with the inclusion of this, it really is about building modern data warehouses, right? Or learning how to build modern data warehouses. And they're talking about machine learning, right? That then foot into the traditional Synapse analytics that actually find data. What do you think about that as from a partner perspective? Should they be start really thinking about, how do I true up my skills to be able to understand that better so that I can take that to market?
Absolutely, 100%, Sherman. And John and I have been talking about this for our SMB and SMC customers, so our mid-market and below as well, is that from an infrastructure perspective, one thing that we talked about that is driving it is partners who've been either held hostage by some technology, like technologies that just won't move to the cloud, but they won't leave it, may actually be willing to leave it now because they want AI bad enough, right? Which is great. But then to your point is, we do have some other house cleaning to do, right? Like John and I have been talking about Fabric. So it's a really great tool for us in the data and analytics space. And I think it can help a lot, to your point of like, how do we get further, more adoption and things in that area? So I think there are some steps we can take, but there's still some fundamental things that we'll still need to do. Now, the other thing I would say about data and analytics, and John and I live through this on a daily basis oftentimes, is what questions are you trying to answer? And what data do we need? Because sometimes having that will simplify what you're trying to do. Because I feel like, sometimes we don't even know the questions we need to ask. And granted, I think people sometimes have misinterpreted AI as like a magic 8-ball, right? Like I can ask it any question, or I don't have to be thoughtful in my questions, or what have you. But I think it really is still very important to say, like, what do you hope to get out of it? Take a crawl, walk, run approach. But I do think, and John, please chime in here. I feel like, we are going to be able to drive more in analytics and data because of AI, but it may not be first step, right? Like there could be some other things in between that we really need to do to make the most of it. So I'll stop there and see what John has to say.
I love it so much. And you couldn't have been more spot on. Kind of, we talk about all this time in Fabric. I like Fabric more than I like OpenAI. I'm gonna be honest. Fabric is the tool to help customers understand how they can do more data, but it doesn't just land, right? So because customers are so excited about AI, you can start having that conversation, but a lot of customers are gonna have to do work around data, analytics, and getting there. And all analytics is making sure you have the right data at the right time in the right format to process it efficiently and drive outcomes with it. So completely agree that even though a lot of customers are excited about AI, and they should be, it might be a two-tiered approach with some of our SaaS solutions versus full data modernization.
Great. Let's get into business applications. What business applications are you kind of seeing that would attribute to building an offer inside of AI? John, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah. So when we talk about, I think a theme that's been consistent across this is AI helps customers make decisions that helps them drive their business outcomes. So a lot of the technology and the way we're going to deploy it with customers is specific to their needs. A couple ones that we've seen out the gate are what generative AI is very good at. So if you're looking at customer responses, driving something like a call center, or how you're engaging with customers, that's just a very easy use case for it. But we're starting to see a lot more really exciting use cases around personalization. So being able to understand exactly and create a custom conversation with, or sorry, a personalized experience for each customer, pulling in multiple data sources, scrubbing through it, and applying that. My favorite one, though, is just how do we look and operate or optimize some of the things that sellers do on a regular basis? So I used to work as an environmental engineer and work with government bidding. My favorite use case I've seen when we talk to customers is scope of work automation. So this might resonate with a lot of partners on this call. Just, you don't have to spend a lot of time going through a request for a proposal or creating a scope of work. You have a template and you can use AI to go in and just scope that out and be, I think 60 to 70% more efficient is what a lot of our customers have said. And that's something that really resonated, because as soon as you get that use case, then you start to say, okay, well, what can I do next? And really talking about what Jason said is important, because some of the problems you want to solve, like a full personalized 360 experience for customers, take a lot of data movement, modernizing, adding the analytics. But some of these problems, AI is just new technology that gives us a step up. So some of these problems can be solved pretty quickly. So if you go in and you look at all of your, I'm sure a lot of customers have some sort of feedback experience. You can take all of that data and then mine it with AI in about a 10th, right, or 100th of the time you could do that manually. So just going through and saying, what are the most common issues that customer talks about? What did our reps respond with? How did that lead to customer satisfaction? Little steps like that are so important to helping driving the message. And this helps customers start thinking about, okay, well, what's next? And what's next, and how can I really apply that? So hopefully that mostly answered the question.
Yeah, no, it does. And Adam, I'm sorry here, but how is your approach to that? Is it business applications? Is it verticals? Or how are you looking at that?
It's a mix, honestly, because I think everybody's at different spots with their maturity model there. We've had, as of late, had more instances verticalized. So manufacturing space has been one where they've got a lot of OT data, maybe in a data warehouse, data lake, now want to front end that. So they want to train a model on that information, but then front end it with OpenAI, right? So I can have that natural language. And the use case there was, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for my business analyst, data analyst to write customized reports for these stakeholders. I want to see if I can have a natural language chat conversation and ask similar questions against that, and maybe cut that not middle person out, because there's still going to be a need for that, but be able to allow them to interface with that data quicker than having to wait that lead time with their data team or their reporting team. So that's been one use case. We've seen language services on the Azure AI side come up with translation and whatnot. That's been interesting. Healthcare space there, although there's a lot of incumbents like Nuance, Microsoft Nuance and whatnot that already offer those and are driven by the EMR. The other one that I would say came up was actually on the vision side, the OCR side, with personal document identification, so they can do quicker validation in real time when people are checking in a waiting room, without having to manually go back in the back and scan it and then type in any of the inaccuracies and whatnot. So in near real time, being able to feed, driver's licenses or whatever the identification ID might be. So that's my way of saying it's been all over the board, but more tied to different verticals, probably more so for us.
And I think we're going to end up chipping away at this, right, to be able to put it in the right places. Right now, just the art of the possibility is just absolutely outrageous, right, with that. Let me go ahead, just for timing wise, I think I'm going to skip the, I want to hear from Adam a little bit about, from the partner perspective, how is Sentinel approaching AI, and what are you going to market with? Because I think you can give a good example. Give away the trade secrets to here, everyone, but I think their thought leadership or their strategy is really interesting. So, Adam, I think there's one slide we're going to put up that you can walk through that will really help partners with that. Thank you, Reva, if you can put that up. Yep,
I've seen it on my side here. So, a lot of the partners probably on the call are just, it's it can be a bit overwhelming because AI, like I mentioned earlier, is a bit obtuse. So where do we go? So I would say, and Sentinel has a VAR background as well. We do have a little bit of ISV angle, and then we're an MSP as well. So we kind of cross the gamut there. So on the manufacturer resale side, that left-hand side, that's where we get into like the ISV specific AI solutions, and just about all of them have it. So there's certainly a resale motion that we'll have just by the nature of all the other partners that we work with in manufacturers. Certainly there's the Microsoft licensing resale and pull through here, whether that be on the Copilot side, on the upsell, on the upsell to an existing M or O or business standard premium license. And then there's the infrastructure side. So if we get into the Azure AI solutions area, and that we certainly have the usage billing and whatnot around Microsoft infrastructure. So I kind of put that in the resale, manufacturer resale bucket. Then we move over into the more, probably what I'll call the meaty services and whatnot, and probably the higher profit margin services for most partners out there. And consulting is definitely a big one of them. I already touched on some of the art of the possible strategy and use case sessions. We balance that out with doing a little bit in our complementary workshops, but you don't want to give away the farm necessarily, because there's a lot that goes into building consultative services, as many of the partners who have them realize. So you do want to charge for those services. Coming up with the right pricing is something we're still kind of feeling out, and it depends on the size of the organization. Governance, risk, and compliance, we have an advisory area within Sentinel Technologies we've had for many years now that help with AI acceptable use policy development and the usage policies, alignments with compliance. The data and information assessment, that's a key one. Remember, I talked about those building blocks, right?
Yeah.
The data and information, that is a big one, right? Because AI is not just magic fairy dust that you sprinkle on terrible data and you get roses on the other side, right? You definitely need to assess that information to see if it's even plausible or feasible to meet that use case that you spent all the time developing, right? And then cost management. This is one that I think we're in the early stages of, but FinOps, I know that's a term near and dear to your heart, Sherman, is, we have the FinOps practicing that we do on the public cloud infrastructure side. Well, much of the custom AI solutions are going to leverage that same infrastructure. So how do we put those same FinOps best practices in when it comes to cost management around the AI solutions we're now dumping into this infrastructure as well? And then the last one's the deployment block. So any of the partners out there with professional services and whatnot, being able to deploy proof of concepts, we call them jump starts at Sentinel, AI and ML design and architecture. If you get down more of that customized AI route, there's definitely right ways and wrong ways, and certain models don't suit certain use cases. So you definitely want to be prepared with that. And then platform deployment goes without saying. I think it was John that mentioned well architected and being able to align with the well architected frameworks that Microsoft sets out for these services. And then I've already touched on it, but that integration layer, right? If you are going the custom route, Azure AI solutions produce an API endpoint in most cases at the end of the day. Sure, you can use quick starts and dump them into web apps and whatnot, but at the end of the day, there is going to be a little bit of a lift on the API integration and the app development to what that end user experience is going to be. And that's kind of what rounds out the portfolio on the deployment side of things. So hopefully this helps. This is kind of a real brief high level of kind of how we're approaching it and how we break it down.
Well, what I love about it is that you put it, I mean, you organized it really with the 3 different sections, and then, okay, now you can understand, okay, now we can start building from there, right? And kind of doing that. That's what I think is really pertinent. But now I'm going to go back to you on this next one, because it's right off of your last question, and then I want the Microsoft perspective. But, what type of go-to-market roadblocks have you seen? What stopped you? And then I'm curious from you, and then I'm curious from like what Microsoft is seeing, interviewing other partners.
Sure. I would say, it's not, I wouldn't consider it a hard roadblock, but it's tough to keep up. It changes weekly and it changes monthly. So that's probably been the biggest challenge. I mean, we have our Copilot for M365 readiness workshop that we've been delivering since late September before GA. And I've updated that deck 4 or 5 times in the last, since that its inception. So keeping up with it can be challenging, knowing what the latest constraints are and whatnot. So that's probably, I wouldn't call it a hard roadblock, but it's definitely something that if you're a technically minded person and you're responsible for being that pseudo subject matter expert on something, it's a lot to keep up with when it's training, and even more so on if you get into the Azure AI side. So that's probably I would say a roadblock. And then pitfalls. The only pitfall I would say is what I echoed back earlier was being too broad. I think being too broad can hurt you a bit, and especially if you're a partner that's just trying to eke out where you may be good or where you want to offer. Don't try and offer the entire portfolio that's so wide that it stretches your team and your skills, but at the same token confuses the customer. There's nothing worse than reading a marketing slick and not knowing what you're giving or what you're delivering. So we try to focus on that, thought leadership, deliver some hard value, whether that be in a workshop or a paid engagement, and then focus it in. Is it Copilot or M365? Is it Azure OpenAI? Are we talking about Fabric integration into the backend? Are we looking at Power BI and how Copilot's integrating into that, or the Power Platform? More specific is what I would say is probably the biggest pitfall if you try to go too broad and just have a one-size-fits-all everything. That can be tough to deliver, and it can be tough for the customer to understand. It just ends up being a bit noisy.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. And we have one more question after this. So, but John, what are your thoughts? And then I'll go to Jason as far as roadblocks that you're kind of just hearing about.
Yeah, Adam covered it so well. I would just jump in with the specificity, helping make sure that customers have the right expectation. And this isn't really go to market, but AI. We've said it many times. Customer expectations, they don't always understand it, so they might not have the right idea of how it's going to help them. Set those expectations earlier. And then to Adam's point, when we say AI, that the average consumer, it could be anything, but even at Microsoft, it could be a lot. Are we talking about using Microsoft 365 Copilot? Are we talking about going and doing a full deployment? So getting clear on that from the start, but then really getting specific and having it use case, because we are not just going to say AI is going to solve problems. Like what Adam said, AI is going to solve this specific problem. Here's why it's good for your industry, your vertical, and how we're going to help deploy it.
Excellent. Jason, from your side, from the infrastructure side, do you see any roadblocks on your side? Or have you heard anything that you'd like to share?
I think it's not customers not doing some of the pre-work and the pre. So I put in there about user experience and the use cases. In addition to what John and Adam said about small use cases and starting, taking a look at what problems you really need to solve, and then asking the question if AI can solve them, right? Like in using the tools you have can build up to it. Because I think sometimes it's like, well, we just need to use AI and it's going to make us more competitive, but we don't know why. And we don't know why it's making other people more competitive. So really having the business case justified will help partners like Adam and others really be able to say, like, this is what I'm trying to solve for. So then this should be the first use case. This should be the first pilot. This is achievable. And I think, and you can't come to a partner and go, help me figure it out. I mean, I guess you sort of could, but you know your business better. What are the challenges you have? Bring that to the partner, and then they can help you figure out how to solve it. So,
I look at this like you go to a restaurant and you open up the menu and there's 400 items, and then you go to a restaurant that has 6 items, and you're like, I bet you that restaurant that has 6 items makes all 6 really good, but the restaurant that has 400 probably aren't very good, right? And this, go to Cheesecake Factory. It's all like, I mean, come on, right? Like, let's just think about it. Same thing in the part, like if you want to go and offer 400 or 500 AI particular options, you're never going to be great at it. So let's focus on that. Okay, now the question I wanted to kind of solve, and this kind of goes to not margins, but do you think that customers, you have 1,000 users, are they going to be buying 1,000 Copilot licenses, or are they going to be down the road like the Power BI embedded, where they're like, well, I think we're going to need 20, or I'm going to need 50. Adam, what are your thoughts quickly on that one?
Based on the results of a lot of the workshops we've been doing for Copilot, for M365, it's a small group. I'm almost always seeing a small subset just to feel the waters out. We had some early adopters that were in the private preview that bought into the 300, right? And they're definitely trying to evangelize that. But I'm seeing a smaller subset because there's just going to be, most organizations don't have every single role that's necessarily going to benefit from AI and just the way they operate and their workflow. And not everybody's maybe a knowledge worker or has a productivity workflow that could be benefited, at least if we're talking, say, Copilot for M365. So I'm on the smaller subset camp.
Okay, awesome. We're going to be running about 2 minutes over. Sorry, everybody, but we just got some good stuff. So, John, what are your thoughts on that theory?
Very similar. And we see the adoption for something like Microsoft 365 Copilot similar to analytics and data and AI, where it's not going to be a step function. This isn't a customer migration where they say, I know the end goal right from the start, I'm going to go do this, and it's the same process. A lot of customers, because even if you have 1,000 people in an organization, how they're going to use it is different for each organization. Some groups are going to jump in and use it first, really test the waters, understand what it is, share those learnings, and then go find more use cases. So what we've seen is a small subset go in, test it, really validate it, and then move forward. And what we love seeing is when something like Copilot interacts with other AI use cases. So some customers we've talked to, they started using Copilot, they loved it, and then they realized, wait, well, M365 Copilot, what can we do with GitHub? What can we do with more Azure AI services? And that kind of led to that innovation through it. But it's just like analytics. If any of the partners here have experiences selling that, you start with one use case. You get the customer comfortable, they understand the value, they start to see it, and then they move on to the next and the next. So it's not going to be step, it's a lot of parallel work streams at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you. Jason, do you want to add anything to that or your thoughts?
No, I think it's just start small and focused, just like they were saying. And I think that is going to, one of the things that I think is important is if you stay with that small group, they can be your evangelist for doing more, right? But you've proven out that it's worked for these core groups, and then other people say they want it. And then I think it grows from there, as opposed to John's talk of, he's right. We're not going to do a migration. It's not a sweeping change. So.
Awesome. So I did mention I was going to talk about how I got AI'd, and I've got to share this. I've got to share that. This is unbelievable. And this is a shout out to a good friend of ours in the channel, JP O'Donnell. If you're still on here, I'm sorry I didn't call you out earlier, but I got a LinkedIn message. Hey, Sherman, it was like, hey, I noticed your profile. I'm in data and AI. Would like to have a conversation with you, a brief conversation. And I was like, I responded, before I do that, I went to his LinkedIn profile. I always do this. Okay, want to make sure it's a real person, 500 plus connections, scroll down. Oh, wow, they've got some good background. Responded, yeah, let's schedule it. Here's my Calendly link. Okay, great. So then he schedules a Calendly link with me. And then, then he gives another message that says, Sherman, I scheduled with you. It's going to be next Thursday at 10 o'clock. I look forward to this conversation. And I'm thinking, man, this is awesome, right? Okay, cool. So comes around, Tuesday comes around, get on the call, and the person doesn't join, but my good friend JP O'Donnell does. And I'm like, JP, hey, how are you connected to Jack Abramson? This is weird because JP's been on something else, right? And he's like, well, Sherman, no, that's my SDR. That's my avatar. I'm like, what? You're what? And he goes, yeah, I've got 12 of them. And what their job is to do is to go through LinkedIn and to do a next level type of engagement process, right? Where they actually uses AI, right? They use a Copilot type of thing. And he goes, his is so advanced that it can actually have the first conversation almost. It has got natural language, so it's got voice to it, right? And it just blew me away because I was like, oh my goodness. It was a little like there's a couple things probably to fix on that one. Oh, hey, I'm going to transfer you over to my friend JP O'Donnell. Maybe there's another message in that. He'll be on the call too, right? Okay. But the thing is, think about that, right? Because now he took his one person and now he's got 12 fully functional, fully out there, just creative way of using AI. So interesting. I wanted to share it because it was, I got AI. Anyways, hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. Next month, we're going to be talking about how to use events and webinars to drive awareness and business. We've got a great speaker, Dave Seibert, who actually runs TechFest for us. We attended it last month. It runs on a quarterly event. They are great. But to our speakers, thank you very much. John, thank you. Adam, thank you. Jason, thank you. Diana and everybody else, thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate your time. And we're going to go ahead and end on a great note. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next month. Thank you so much for joining. Invite your friends next month. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
All right.